This isn't fucking Grey's Anatomy, where there's some like sassy black lady running the show. No, it is a board primarily of old white rich men.
Yep.
Right? Just like every other goddamn company. And they're making decisions about dollars and cents, even in the healthcare field, where the modus operandi is supposed to be do no harm.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Novant paid
So that's
$1
who you
billion.
want. Yeah.
They paid $1 billion for that hospital.
For a hospital in Wilmington, North Carolina, Wilmington has 150,000 people in it.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering how much money you can make in healthcare, there you go. All I'm saying is, I get that you don't want government involved. But universal health care doesn't just imply that the government is running it, right? It's not what that means. Medicare for all does, for sure.
Yeah.
Can't do that. But the idea that a government, or I'm sorry, that these corporations that you all hate are somehow going to take care of, like, why would you think that? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. This is not a right or left issue. It's not. Healthcare is not a partisan issue. We've made it that, but it is not a fucking partisan issue. It is both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, in bed with big pharmaceutical companies and hospital companies and insurance companies. That's all it is. And all they do is fucking volley the ball back and forth like, oh, well, they did this. Oh, yeah, well, they did this. Oh, yeah, fucking government should do it. Oh, yeah, companies should do it. They're both cunts. Fuck those people.
Yeah, you take the case of that hospital in Wilmington. I asked, because we had some friends behind the scenes there, and I said, what is the city going to do with that money that they sold the hospital for?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, they're going to build, new schools and help roads and whatever else. And I'm like, okay, great. But what happens then when that's because it's the only hospital in that town. I was like, what happens when, prices skyrocket and everything else?
Right.
It's what's worth more, your health or your education? And they're like, I remember the guy who told me, he was frustrated. He was like, look, man, we need the money and I don't know where it's going to come from. So we're fucked either way.
Yeah, they had to pay off all those pedophile lawsuits.
Yeah. There was a ton. I'm looking at another article here. It said it was leaked that warning that Tim Cook delivered to Nancy Pelosi was that the bills for this antitrust bill were rushed and would crimp innovation. He also reportedly argued that legislation would disrupt Apple's iPhone services and would hurt consumers. How would it disrupt the services of Apple for the iPhone?
By them deciding for it to disrupt you? Like, that's just a punitive threat. That's all it is.
That's saying, hey, if you do this, Nancy, guess what? I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of problems with the iPhones.
That's what someone that's in protection in the mafia says. Like, oh, I'd be ashamed if your building burned down.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, if you give me 20 grand, it's not going to burn down. Can't tell you how I can guarantee that. I'm just saying. Because like this piece of shit, right? As soon as you get these goddamn things, then there's problems when the new ones come out, the batteries short out and everything else, and they're like, whoops, sorry. And the last class action lawsuit that went through against Apple was the batteries shorting out. They just admitted it and were like, well, we'll pay. Sorry, it was like $1.3 billion, which to them is nothing. Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we did that. Fuck off. Sorry. Our bad. And then they went on about their life. The fact that he's calling them now, because Apple and these guys, like all these big tech guys were the ones who wanted Trump out of office.
Do you know how much money Apple made in 2020?
No. I know they're worth over $1 trillion, though.
$275 billion in 2020 alone.
They're worth over $1 trillion, and